Why is debt-free cash flow used? Don't look at your packs, all the answers are in there and it makes the discussion very boring. Who can I pick on? I'm really glad we've got those name tags. Jose, aren't you? It's good to have the name tags, isn't it? Good to have. Is there anybody on your team who thinks they know why this debt-free cash-free value is used? Why might it be used? Can we guess?
I think it's the first one.
Helps with comparability? I think you're right. I think you're right. One of the things, Carmen might know this, one of the things that's going to happen is that up until completion, up until the day the deal is done, debt levels within the company will vary. So it does help with comparability. It does help with comparability. Are you looking at the quiz, Carmen?
Yes.
Yeah, what question are you looking at?
5.
5. All right. Any other thoughts about this one? Why is debt-free cash flow used?
It gives the buyer a pretty good view on the level of cash that he might have to raise to pay financial liabilities.
It does. It does. I've said here takes into account how much finance the buyer has to raise. All right. So what we're hearing from Carmen is that comparability is one of the reasons. How much this one here focuses on how much finance the buyer has to raise. This one here focuses on what the seller gets. So the buyer is going to have to make sure he's got relationships with banks that are prepared to lend him this money, and then he's going to have to write out a cheque to the seller for this amount. This is what the buyer is looking at. And I suppose we've got to take one person's side of the table, and perhaps it's convention that we take the buyer's perspective. So I'm thinking it's taking into account how much finance the buyer has to raise. It's a convention, helps with comparability. Advisors' fees and advisors' egos. Do you think that's got anything to do with it? Sophia, what do you think? Advisors? I tell you what, let me ask the question a different way. At Linklaters, would you rather talk to your prospective clients about advising on an 80 million deal or a 100 million deal? What would you rather talk to your clients about? The fact you advise on a 100 million deal or an 80 million deal?
The first one.
The 100 million deal. So I'm sorry to say, I do think advisors' egos do have something to do with it. People, it's not just advisors as well, as sellers of businesses want to talk about the big deal that they did.
And also,
but it's actually true, isn't it? I mean, if you're doing the deal which has an equity value of 80 million, but then you're taking on board some 20 million of debt, it's actually a 100 million deal.
It is, and people would rather talk about the 100 million deal rather than the 80 million. And I used to work in M&A, you know that. And, sorry, your name is?
Jaime.
I can't say that.
Jamie.
Jamie, can I, do you mind?
James.
Jamie, I can cope with Jamie. You know the British are terrible at languages, don't you? You know they are. Jamie, I'm not British. I'm not British. And the only people who are worse than British at languages are New Zealanders. Because can you imagine as a schoolboy sat way in the back of the arse end of the world in New Zealand, what motivation you have for learning French or German or Spanish or anything else. So I'm terrible. I just can't get the vowels right. Jamie, thank you. How do M&A advisors get paid? How do M&A advisors get paid? So you've got an investment banker or corporate finance advisor working on the deal, advising, let's say, the seller of a business. How much do you think they get if the sale doesn't go through? Probably, if it's the M&A advisor, the lawyer's a different matter, who gets involved later. But the M&A advisor is probably going to get zero. They're probably on a percentage of the deal size, and the bigger the deal, the bigger the fee. So Marcus, we're hearing about somebody else in the transaction who would rather talk about a 100 million deal than an 80 million deal. And again, I've had lawyers in my room who are confounded by M&A advisors' engagement letters. The engagement letters, sometimes you get to review these. And I can tell you at Deloitte, we always had those engagement letters crafted so that they focused on the 100 million deal for our fee than the 80 million deal. Anybody had to review advisors' engagement letters?
Yes.
they're generally, and it might be different here, but they're generally focused on that number rather than that number. I don't know what the case was in the one that you...
Well, I mean, yeah, investment bankers and so on, they do tend to charge a percentage, so the larger the deal, the larger the fees.
Exactly, so they've got an incentive to link these things. So which group haven't I heard so much from? What about this group here? What are we thinking the answer is on this one? All of them? Do we agree, Linklaters?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we think we're passing the valuation quiz? I think we're doing pretty flipping well. All of these, let's see if we're right. Oh, it's quite a scary pressing this button, isn't it? Yes, Linklaters, all right, okay.